So hello and welcome to another episode of TopTenz. I'm your interim host, Karl Smallwood. Yes, that's my real name, and today we're talking about 10 costly mistakes caused by ignoring minor details. And this video is, as always, based on original articles submitted to us by our stable of handsome internet content creators. This one being Ian Forte. Links to their socials can be found below alongside my own. Without further ado, let's get to it. Everyone makes mistakes, or so the saying goes. The problem is that the word mistake doesn't hold a lot of meaning. Sure, it means something wrong has happened, but you get no sense of the gravity of the situation. Dropping your toast butter side down is a mistake, but so is forgetting to place the seal on a rocket ship that caused it to explode. Some mistakes can be quite a bit costlier than others. Here's a list of 10 that you may not know about. Number 10. Lou Reed got all royalties from a Tribe Called Quest hit, Can I Kick It? If you don't know Lou Reed, I don't. You're missing out on one of the greats in the history of music. The Velvet Underground frontman was a singer, songwriter, and inspiration to countless others. He was also never shy about sharing his thoughts. In 1990, a Tribe Called Quest released a track called Can I Kick It, which is still one of their most memorable hits, but there was a problem with it. The group sampled a lot of music in the production of a song, and one of the things they sampled was Lou Reed's bass line from the song Walk on the Wild Side, and they made the mistake of never asking Lou Reed for permission.
Can I kick it? Can I kick it?
Their record label didn't really help either because they didn't clear the rights, and when Lou Reed found out, he didn't deny them access to it. He simply told them they'd have to pay. A Tribe Called Quest never received a dime in royalties from the song as a result. All of it goes to Reed instead, thanks to the record label's initial mistake. And it's just one of those things that happens in music all the time. Like, little bonus facts for you about this: there's an unreleased will.i.am song that was mercifully killed in the crib by Daft Punk because will.i.am tried to sample Around the World, by which I mean he screams over the top of Around the World, "Believe it or not, this is a remix." To which Daft Punk responded by getting the song taken down and issuing a statement that simply read, "We think our music sounds better when will.i.am is not involved." Burn. Number 9. US forces accidentally built a fort in Canada. A lot can go wrong in the world of construction, but one of the credos for any carpenter is measure twice, cut once. You really need to be sure what you're doing. But you also need to make sure you have the wear down as well, or else all the craftsmanship in the world won't save you if you make a mistake. The border between the United States and Canada is one of the longest in the world, and for the most part, the neighbours get along quite well with this arrangement. It's almost a straight line from one coast to the other, but there are a few wonky bits, especially around the Great Lakes and up to the East Coast. This ended up contributing to the shameful story of the aptly named Fort Blunder. Originally called Fort Montgomery, this US military base was built in 1816 in an effort to ensure another Battle of 1812 wasn't on the horizon. It was to have 30-foot high walls and overlook Lake Champlain where it could prevent another British invasion. The problem was that the maps were not read correctly, and the fort was built a mile into Canadian territory instead of on American soil. It wouldn't be until sometime in the 1840s when Britain and the US reached a firm agreement on the borders that Canada lost a little land and the fort was given back to the US, with a small tweak to the maps and the name. Number 8. Crypto.com accidentally refunded someone over $10 million. Remember Monopoly? One of the community chest cards you could get in that game awarded you $200 thanks to a bank error in your favour. As kids, many of us probably hoped that one day we'd be on the receiving end of such a blessed mistake. In reality, bank errors are few and far between, and they are rarely in your favour, if at all. And even in cases where it seems to be in your favour, legally that money isn't yours, and those who have benefited from such an error have had to pay the money back. But what about a cryptocurrency exchange? We'll think no more, because a woman who was looking for a $100 refund on Crypto.com ended up having $10.5 million refunded into her account instead. As one would expect, she immediately went out and spent a lot. She even bought a house that cost $1.35 million. Absolute legend. How did such a mistake occur, you ask? Well, following an audit a full 7 months later, we'd like to add, the website realised that someone had entered an account number in the payment section by mistake. That oversight led to an epic spending spree. Again, absolute legend. The site ended up suing the woman, and the Supreme Court in Australia froze her accounts in order to sell the house and return the cash. No, let her keep it. I don't like the end to that story, but I guess that is the end. So, number 7. Soccer fans keep mixing up Bucharest and Budapest. Geography is not everyone's strong suit, myself included, especially beyond the borders of where they live. Surveys have revealed geographic illiteracy is a huge problem worldwide. Or is it? For the most part, this may never affect you in your day-to-day life, but it might if you find yourself booking flights to a place you don't want to go. And in Europe in particular, there seems to be a pervasive issue in understanding the difference between Budapest and Bucharest. For those who don't know, Budapest is in central Hungary, whereas Bucharest is in Romania. They're about 400 miles apart. Back in 2012, over 400 Spanish fans who planned to watch their team play in a Europa League soccer game loaded up on planes and flew to Budapest to see the match. When they got there, they discovered the game was being played in Bucharest. And you might think that's a funny story, but it happened again in 2021 when French fans did the exact same thing, but in reverse, when they arrived in Bucharest for a game that was being played in Budapest, proving that no one reads maps or names very well before booking plane tickets. Number 6. Astronaut Alan Bean ruined Apollo 12's camera. Everyone and their uncle uses a cell phone to take pictures nowadays, but back in the day you needed a real camera. I do this, I have a real camera, I'm recording this with a real camera. It has not moved more than 2 feet in the last 3 years. And part of the reason is that film can be a fickle media. You can't just keep taking dozens of pictures with film because eventually you run out and have to buy more. It needs to be developed, handled carefully, stored properly, all that jazz. And you also want to not point any of it directly at the sun, especially if you're in a place with no atmosphere like the moon. When Apollo 12 was headed to the moon for our second visit, there was a lot less pressure on the whole mission. There was still interest, but it waned when everyone on Earth realised they wouldn't be able to watch. That was all thanks to a mistake by astronaut Alan Bean. As you can imagine, camera equipment being sent into space to document a moon landing in full colour was sensitive and expensive. Bean, not fully appreciative of this, ended up pointing the camera directly at the sun. With no atmospheric filter of any kind, the sun almost instantly destroyed the camera, and reducing the trip to an audio-only affair and dampening enthusiasm worldwide. By the time crews returned for Apollo 14, networks literally cut away from coverage to put soap operas on. And that's just brutal. Number 5. NASA once accidentally sold a bag that had been on the moon. One of the most exciting things that can happen while shopping is finding a mispriced item. Most stores follow a rule where they will sell you it for the price on the label, even if the label is a mistake and you're getting a great deal. But not every sale follows those rules. For example, in 2015, a government auction on eBay included a small white bag. A woman in Illinois bought it for just under $1,000. The bag was from NASA and it had been to space, but there had been a mix-up and the bag that had been sold had been up in Apollo 11, had actually been used to collect the first samples of moon dust. It was supposed to have been the one from Apollo 17 that went to space, but never left the lander. When the new owner of the bag sent it to NASA to confirm it was real, she trusted that they'd confirm or deny and then send it back. They did not, and instead they kept the bag and told her it was sold in error and that it belonged to the American people, and offered her a refund instead. This being America, a lawsuit quickly followed and a judge ruled in the woman's favour. When she got the bag, she immediately sold it for $1.8 million at auction. Again, absolute legend. Number 4. A boy tripped and punched a hole in a $1.5 million painting. The comedy platform has been a staple of laughing at other people's pain and misfortune for generations. Everybody loves watching someone else fall down. But sometimes a person goes above and beyond their tomfoolery and doesn't just trip, they trip epically. Such was the case for a 12-year-old schoolboy in Taipei who was visiting a local museum. In 2015, the Huashan 1914 Creative Arts Centre had a Da Vinci-inspired exhibit which featured a 17th century painting called Flowers by Paolo Porpora. As the boy was approaching the painting, he tripped, and as most people would, he put his hands out in front of him to try and steady and catch himself. Unfortunately, that ended with him putting his hands right through the $1.5 million painting. A few anxiety attacks later, and the boy was mostly let off the hook, since insurance agreed to cover most of the restoration damage. But it was a valuable lesson for all in the importance of keeping art either behind glass or at least a small velvet rope. Right? You know, as Lisa Simpson says, you can't do that. It's behind a velvet rope.
A velvet rope.
Number 3. Steve Rothstein cost American Airlines $21 million in unlimited flights. History is rife with tales of companies trying to run clever promos that backfired hilariously, like when Red Lobster underestimated the cost of an endless crab promo that cost the boss her job and cost the business hundreds of millions of dollars. American Airlines made the same mistake by offering an unlimited flight promo for $250,000. Their thinking must have been that anyone who took up the offer would in no way be able to use $250,000 worth of flights over the lifetime of the offer. or at least not that much more. But they did not see Steve Rothstein coming, or flying in, I suppose. Rothstein bought his pass and proceeded to clock in more than 10,000 flights. He flew friends to Europe, he flew strangers home. He'd even fly out for business trips in the morning and be home on a new flight for dinner, all first class. Sometimes he'd fly to another city just for a sandwich that he liked. The cost to American Airlines was an estimated $21 million, and the company was obviously very keen to cancel this plan. Finally, they were able to do so on the grounds of fraud, because Rothstein sometimes invited strangers to fly with him. He'd book his companions seats made under made-up names because he didn't know who was coming with him. The airline claimed that that was the reason to terminate his ticket. And again, I've written a script about this, again on Today I Found Out, and again narrated by Simon Whistler. And the detail that cracks me up is that American Airlines' own team would often advise Rothstein to make these flights because, customer service, that you've got an unlimited ticket, we want you to get the most out of it. And they would frequently book him extra seats for his bag and just put it under bag Rothstein. And eventually the same company realized how much he was costing them and used that to claim he was defrauding them, even though they told him to do it. It's a bullshit story, and I felt so bad for the guy, and he obviously was very mad. Number 2. William Shanks wasted years incorrectly calculating pi by hand. Everyone's favourite irrational number pi has been calculated to well over 100 trillion digits. You can thank computers for that one. But before computers, mathematicians were doing it the old-fashioned way, with pen and paper, and it wasn't easy. Just ask William Shanks. Shanks was born in 1812 when pi had only been calculated to 152 digits. By 1873, Shanks had devoted years of his life to unravelling the number and had reached 707 digits. And that might not sound impressive, but keep in mind that prior to computers, calculating a new digit of pi could take days or even weeks of work. It would be decades later when another mathematician going over Shanks' work discovered that he had miscalculated at digit 527. The end result was years of work being rendered pretty much useless. Number 1. Andres Escobar was killed for scoring a goal on his own team. Professional athletes are under a lot of scrutiny at the best of times, and rabid fans will turn on someone at the drop of the hat if they feel they are underperforming. You can imagine how bad the reaction might be if a player were to, say, accidentally score a point for the opposing team then. Or maybe you can't, since this one is almost unbelievable. In 1994, Andres Escobar accidentally scored a goal against his own team during the World Cup. Escobar, previously a popular and very skilled player, just screwed up. It happens. The goal cost them the match and dropped them from the competition. Colombian fans were beyond enraged. Just over a week after the game, a group of men attacked Escobar on the street, at first mocking and insulting him for what he did. Then things escalated. One of the men pulled a gun and shot him 6 times in his car. Officials believe the killer, the bodyguard for some drug traffickers, had been paid to kill Escobar because his bosses lost money on the match. But that was never conclusively proven. And it's equally as likely it was just a pissed off sports fan, because we all know how crazy they get. So thank you for watching this video. As mentioned at the start, I've been your host, Karl Smallwood. This video was based on an original article submitted by Ian Forte. If you want to see any more of our stuff, you can find links to our socials below. Also below will be links to my own channel, Fact Theme with Karl Smallwood, and Wiki Weekends, where I have an altogether more casual approach to reciting facts, although I hope it's just as fun and enjoyable for everyone watching. Speaking of which, if you enjoyed this and you liked it, leave a like. Any comments, leave a comment. In particular about my presentation and hosting style. If you've got any feedback for me about how to improve, do let me know. I'm trying and hopefully improving with each passing video, but I understand my initial delivery was quite stilted and wooden in comparison to my predecessor, Simon Whistler, who I would like to point out had 6 years to do this. But either way, I'm trying my best, and thank you to everyone, especially the people here at TopTenz for giving me a chance. Likewise, everyone out there, have the day you deserve. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe for more. Cheers.